Hello everyone, welcome back to Believer Science Academy, Bengaluru. This is daily news analysis session. Today we will be discussing some 5 to 6 important articles from UPSC prelims, mains as well as interview perspective. So the first article for the day, that is 24th July 2025, is from the Hindu. It talks about Swachh Sarvekshan 2024-25 key takeaways. This is from the Hindu editorial, which talks about important takeaways from the Swachh Sarvekshan. We have already discussed about Swachh Sarvekshan in our previous news analysis and also made a video about Swachh Sarvekshan where we covered different dimensions and different rankings and different cities. All those are covered on the previous news analysis and the videos. You can go check that one. Now, so here it talks about the evolution of survey. From fewer than 100 cities in 2016 to over 4,500 urban centers in 24-25, the coverage. And it is hailed as the world's largest cleanliness survey, spearheaded by SBM Urban. Goes beyond awards. It offers critical insights into the urban governance, waste management, and citizen behavior. So, Swachh Sarvekshan is not all about the awards. Though the awards are given to different cities, but the main aim is not just to award them, but also bring focus into urban governance, waste management, and citizen behavior. Next is, it talks about evidence-based urban assessment. It evaluates cities on 10 comprehensive parameters such as waste segregation and disposal, sanitation, worker welfare, grievance redressal mechanisms. Here, it involves third-party verification and feedback from 140 million citizens, which ensures reliability and transparency. So, it is not only done from the government side, it is also done from the citizens as well. There is a wide range of participation from the citizen. So, this is a consensus-led, a citizen-centric based survey. Next, it acts as a powerful planning as well as monitoring tool for policymakers. Next, it also brings a new Super Swachh League, which talks about a more equitable ranking system. Here the author says that the new Super Swachh League was introduced for the cities greater than 10 lakh population. So here he talks that this is a good initiative. Author says that they introduced to prevent monopoly by the recurring top performance like Indore and Navi Mumbai. It created space for other cities like Ahmedabad, Lucknow, and Bhopal to rise within their categories. It grouped cities into 5 population-based brackets, promoting inclusive and diverse participation. If you see previous Swachh Sarvekshan surveys, the Indore was always on the top, followed by Navi Mumbai, followed by Mysore, and these were the repeated performers. So there was no scope for other cities to perform here. So they have made a new league here, that is Super Swachh League. Next, Odisha's success reflects this. That is Bhubaneswar's leap to 9th rank and emergence of smaller cities like Aska and Chikiti. This shows that it provides evidence to the properly planned urbanization. For this, Odisha has been a success story. Then, showcasing innovation and practices. Cities are becoming laboratories of innovation. In Indore, 6-way waste segregation is significant, and in Surat, sewage treatment for revenue, and in Pune, rag pickers led cooperatives, and Agra, dump site conversion using the bioremediation. This can be your examples for best practices in sewage treatment. See the variation here. First is focus on segregation, involvement of technology. So it has 6-way waste segregation in Indore. Then this one, Pune. It is not only addressing the sewage treatment or the wastage management in Pune, but it is also addressing another social aspect, that is the rag pickers. There is a rack picker led cooperatives which is helping to bring cleanliness to the city as well as addressing the issues of these rack pickers as well. Then the Agra, which talks about converting the dump site itself. Wherever there is a dump site, it is converting the dump site itself into bioremediation. So various different types of innovations are available within India only. This can be followed in other cities like Bengaluru, Mysore, or Mumbai, etc. etc. This survey serves as a repository of scalable models that can be adopted nationwide. Okay, so it is like a repository. Now we have seen that this is working in a particular city. If this works in a particular city, why it cannot be expanded to other cities all over the India? Okay, so we can scale this. Next, cleanliness as an economic and cultural imperative. There is a greater focus on tourist hubs and cultural events. For example, the Prayagraj during Mahakumbha. The 2025 theme was reduce, reuse, and recycle, and it builds on prior waste to wealth concept. Waste is the new wealth. Next, clean environments can boost tourism, public health, and local economies. An untapped opportunity for India, which holds only 1.5% of global tourist arrivals. India has a rich history, cultural, ecological, as well as nature. Everything is available in India. From the lush green mountains in the Western Ghats in the northeast in Andaman to the high Himalayas in the northern India, and also desert in Rajasthan areas, and also like adventure activities in Rishikesh, Haridwar, etc. etc. Everything is available, but the tourism conversion, the arrival of tourists is very less. It is only 1.5% of the global tourists, which is lesser compared to even the smaller countries like Turkey and other countries. So India should focus on tapping this potential. And one of the major reason why the tourists are not coming to India and ongoing trend in the Twitter and other social media is that the cleanliness of India and the issue of safety and security of the people in India has become a major reason why tourists are not coming to India. So if we take care of this cleanliness, we will be able to address this issue and attract more tourists. Next, challenges and that persist. The survey says that there are certain challenges that still persist, such as behavior change around waste minimization and recycling is still limited. Okay, any issue can be resolved, cannot be resolved only by the government. Only government, it cannot be resolved. Only technology, it cannot be resolved. Only the schemes, it cannot be resolved. When can it be resolved? Is when there is a combination of all these and plus a major contributor to this, that is citizenry. The citizenry should bring in some sort of behavioral change. You cannot expect the government to do everything when you are not yourself changing. Therefore, there should be a behavioral change where it talks about waste minimization as well as recycling. Despite success in eliminating open defecation, consumerist habits and plastic use still persist. With 1.5 lakh tons of waste generated daily, much depends on urban local body capacity, efficient waste segregation and collection, effective plastic as well as e-waste management. So the road ahead is the focus should now shift from rankings to resilience. Cleanliness must be seen not just as a duty but as a civic virtue and economic opportunity. Success hinges on the policy support, community involvement, and smart technology. So there is a synergy to be brought between all the four. Next, there is another important article of the editorial from the Hindu again, which talks about the reality of changing dimensions of warfare, how the warfare has evolved and how it is changing even now. There is a erosion or erosion of traditional order. Historical norms like Westphalian system or Congress of Vienna have lost their relevance in today's geopolitical climate. People of India, like international relations and like PSI, should be knowing about Westphalian system and Congress of Vienna. These are considered as the older hegemonies. But now they have lost the relevance. The illusion of peace since World War II masks decades of continuous and smaller conflicts. The modern power struggles rely more on technology and unconventional means than on diplomacy or the static rules or even weapons of mass destruction. They have moved towards unconventional weapons and the traditional wars have lost their relevance. There is a false promise of post-war peace. That is, post-World War II world, despite its rules-based international order, it witnessed numerous regional wars such as in Korea, in Vietnam, Middle East, Israel, Palestine, etc., are still ongoing. The US atomic dominance temporarily suppressed large scale wars but didn't eliminate conflict. So, you might have seen the nuclear weapons or the US hegemony of atomic dominance or the Russian dominance has some to the way reduced wars and increased the peace. But this peace is only a imagination, we can say. This is not the reality because though the peace might be available to the higher cities like higher countries like USA or the developed countries like USA and Russia, but the peace is not available to everyone because of these small scale wars. Peace was an illusion, not an imagination, it was an illusion, not a stable reality. Mistrust and surveillance remained key diplomatic practices even now. New conflicts, new doctrines. That is, the end of Cold War and 9/11 marked turning points but not clear cut beginnings for the modern warfare. The Cold War ended with the USSR disintegration and the 9/11 attack on the Twin Towers in USA were the turning points, but they were not still clear cut because the technology kept on evolving. Operation Desert Storm in 1991 revealed integration of precision, speed, and technology, a blueprint for future wars. Military strategists only now fully grasp how transformative these early indicators were. Next, Ukraine, West Asia, and the India Pakistan conflict in 2025. The Russia Ukraine war, the conflicts in West Asia showcase how drastically the warfare has evolved. Drone warfare, AI driven targeting, and the loitering munitions are now central to the combat. It is not the number of soldiers or it is not the number of tanks that are going to dictate a war nowadays. It is the number of drones, number of AI driven targeting technologies, and loitering munitions. These are the things that are going to be a major factors. May 2025 India-Pakistan conflict highlighted use of fixed wing drones, BrahMos, and PL-15 missiles. Transition to network-centric warfare and precision weaponry. Emergence of multi-domain conflicts. It is not just the wars which are fought on the battleground; it are on these battlegrounds. That is, cyber, space, AI, kinetic, etc., etc. The emergence of technological warfare. The modern wars are no longer about troop numbers or the physical strength alone. The rise of hypersonic missiles, AI enabled autonomous systems, and cyber warfare and image recognition based targeting have become central. Warfare has become digital, decentralized, and data driven, and old doctrines are now becoming obsolete. Urgent need for Indian adaptation. Considering the changing dynamics in the warfare, there is a need for India too, because India must rethink its military modernization plans in light of these rapid changes. The reliance on Rafale jets or delayed indigenous programs, outdated procurement strategies are not needed now. We should focus on India risks being outpaced by China, which already fields fifth and developing sixth generation fighters along with a diversified UAV arsenal, that is unmanned aerial vehicle arsenal, which India lacks, which India is still importing. We are still importing the Rafale jet is not the fifth generation, it is a 4.5 jet fifth generation. So we are still importing the 4.5th generation jets, and our very own HL is still in fourth generation mode. So China has already started a fifth generation and is now developing a sixth generation. So we need to pick up the pace. Next, so the recommendation under this article where India needs to diversify military platforms and technology sources, accelerate indigenous production of long endurance drones, AI integrated systems, and next generation aircraft and missiles. Reassess all current procurement policies and tenders to align with future warfare needs. Prepare for potential two front war scenarios with a digitally enabled multi domain readiness. Okay, so with this, we will be ready for the future warfare because we are facing not just the threat of China but also threat of Pakistan. So, time is to increase ourselves, become more autonomous, more AI driven, and cyber augmented warfare. Next, there is an interesting article which talks about spare live animals and move to biological models. It talks about a human being's moral responsibility towards animals. Humans, being rational and morally capable, have an obligation to treat animals with compassion and respect. Animals, as sentient beings, rely on human benevolence and deserve protection from sufferings. Continuing to harm them in the name of science violates this moral duty and is against the rational and moral capable human being. The hidden history of the human experiment. It talks about how animals have been used for the human experiment. Before animals were used in testing, humans were the subjects in toxicity experiments. Example, US food safety test from 1902 to 1904 used humans as subjects. The shift to animal models was due to the unpredictability of humans, not purely for ethical reasons. Many people say that we shifted from human beings to animals because it was not ethical. We do not have the right to take away another individual's lives just for the sake of test. This reveals that the rationalization of cruelty, once normalized, can be redirected at any being, human or animal. In this case, from human being to animal. Next, scientific limitations of animal testing. There is now a widespread agreement that animal tests are poor predictors of human outcomes. Findings from animals often don't translate well to human biology, raising questions about the scientific validity of such research. That is, whatever the test you are going to conduct on the animals, even if it is providing or producing proper outcomes, sometimes when it is scaled to the human beings, the test have failed. The test have failed miserably, which raises questions on the scientific validity of such research as well. Next, the promise of regenerative medicine and tissue engineering. Breakthroughs now allow for lab grown organs and tissues like artificial pancreas, skin, cartilage, bone marrow, blood vessels, and many more. Now we are able to grow meat, now we are able to grow organs, now we are able to grow tissues in the laboratory itself. So we can use this methodology or this technology such as generative like biological generation, okay, that can be used instead of testing on the live animals. These can replace live animals in many areas of medical, pharmaceutical, and toxicity testing. Shifting experimentation to bioartificial models would reduce suffering and also advance regenerative science. Policy recommendation, it talks about amending the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act. In India, the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act deals with any kind of cruelty committed to animals. So the article proposes an amendment to the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act 1960, specifically under Chapter 4, to include scientists, laboratories, and research organizations should consider doing an experimentation and testing wherever possible on lab-grown anatomical parts and bioartificial models rather than on the live animals. This would make non-animal experimentation a legal directive and not just a moral obligation. Need for a broader cultural shift. Legal reforms is not going to help here, it is not enough. So we must also recognize animals as a fellow sentient beings, transform scientific and educational practices, raise awareness about animal sufferings. For example, dissections in biology classes have largely been replaced by 2D and 3D visual models, which should be expanded across educational and research domains. When we were studying biology in the school, the dissections were made on the animals such as frogs. Now this has been replaced by the 2D and 3D models, how they are going to dissect it. So that can be followed in the larger level as well. Being human is a scientific feature. Very important parts. There is a need for a paradigm shift from in vivo, that is inside the body, to ex corpus, outside the body model. Collaborating with the tissue engineering and regenerative medicine organizations can produce realistic and ethical models of human and animal biology. This would also foster cross disciplinary innovation in science and technology. Next, there was an article about critical minerals which you already discussed. So I think we'd better to skip this critical minerals because we already done a critical minerals topic in the topic of the day video. If there is some new advancements with respect to critical minerals video or critical minerals, I will make a video about it again. But for now, we'll better skip this one. Next is a very interesting topic or very interesting article, that is Paika rebellion row, NCRT sparks uproar in Odisha. Why it is in news? The new NCRT books, in that new NCRT books, the NCRT's omission of the 1817 Paika rebellion from the new class 8 history textbook drew sharp criticism from the former Odisha CM Navin Patnaik, calling it a huge dishonor. NCRT clarified it will be included in the upcoming volume. Okay, so NCRT is going through change of curriculum. It is updating all its books. So in those books updation, they removed Paika. Okay, that is the current issue. So we will understand who are the Paikas. Traditional warrior farmers of Odisha, loyal to Gajapati kings and granted tax-free lands for military service. British land policies stripped them of these rights. Roots of the rebellion: British betrayal of Khurda's king, harsh revenue demands, and salt trade control led to deep economic and political resentment. In 1857 revolt, led by Bakshi Jagabandhu, the Paikas and Kond tribes revolted, attacking police stations and British offices. The revolt spread but was eventually crushed. The legacy was that Odisha has demanded it to be declared as India's first war of independence, predating even the 1857 revolt. But the center hasn't accepted that, the rebellion is now a strong symbol of Odia pride. Okay, so that is why Paika rebellion becomes important. Next, a previous pointer. Recently, there was an article about Typhoon Block 4, which is going to be Turkey's first hypersonic ballistic missile. Very important. What is it? It is hypersonic version of the indigenous Typhoon missile, which is developed by Roketsan. Speed is, it exceeds Mach 5, that is 5x to the speed of sound, making it a hypersonic weapon. Range is currently 800 kilometers and is expandable to 100,000 kilometers. 6.5 meters long and 2,300 kilometers is the weight. It is guided via GPS, GLONASS and inertial navigation system. Error margin is just 5 meters. What is the GPS and GLONASS? GPS is the geopositioning system. This is built by USA, and GLONASS, in short term, it is the GPS of Russia. GPS developed by Russia. And what is the GPS of India? It is big NAVIC or IRNSS, Indian Regional Navigation Surveillance System. Payload is equipped with fragmentation warheads, uses solid composite fuel. Use case: it targets air defense systems, command centers and strategic infrastructure. So these are the important articles which I want to discuss with you. So, okay, let us look into the critical minerals as well. We'll just do that article as well. Already most of the things have been already discussed about critical minerals. We'll see why it is in news. Critical minerals and India's strategic imperative. Building resilience for the future. The context is strategic value of the critical minerals. Critical minerals underpin clean energy, digital transformation, and national security. India's import dependence and limited processing capacity threatens its long term autonomy. Securing these minerals is vital to achieve Atmanirbharata or self reliancy in industries like electric vehicles, semiconductors, and defense. So, these are the industries of the future: defense, semiconductors, and EVs. And these are dependent on critical minerals. As a result, these critical minerals define the future. India is facing issues with respect to this future because it is dependent on imports for critical minerals. What makes minerals critical? It is defined by high importance for strategic sectors, example lithium, cobalt, and rare earth elements. High risk of supply chain disruption due to geographical concentration and geopolitical control. Demand is driven by energy transition, digitalization, and global efforts for supply chain resilience. Geopolitical landscape is the China factor because China dominates the global supply chain. 90% of the rare earth elements refining, 70% of cobalt processing, 60% of lithium conversion. Everything is under the China control. China's lead stems from decades of industrial planning and strategic forecast or foresight. India remains highly vulnerable to external supply shocks, particularly from the Chinese export club. So we cannot be dependent on China because China and India are always at the heads because of the defense, because of the border, because of the various aspects. India's policy response. So in 2022, Ministry of Mines identified 30 critical minerals. In 25, there is a launch of National Critical Mineral Mission to secure end-to-end supply chains. Ongoing exploration, 195 projects in the past year and 227 approved for the upcoming year. Challenges in exploration and auctions. MMDR Act, MMDR Act amendments facilitated critical mineral auctions. 5 rounds completed, but a low private participation, mainly due to high capital requirement, lack of processing technology, and regulatory and logistical hurdles. India's midstream weakness. India lacks capability in refining and chemical conversion, leading to continued dependence on the foreign refineries. Battery grade lithium, cobalt, and nickel processing is still in the nascent stages. These are the issues with respect to India. So there is a need for proposed industrial interventions. There is need to establish mineral processing zones near the mining hubs, introduce production linked incentive schemes for refining and separation technologies, incentivize private investment in midstream industries through credit support and regulatory facilitation. Finally, requires geopolitical and strategic risk management. Recent Chinese export restrictions on rare earth elements have directly affected India's electric vehicles and electronic sectors. The strategic steps needed are build independent supply chain, deepen partnerships with Australia, Argentina, and other resource countries, engage with the Quad, G20, and mineral security partnerships for strategic alignment. So we cannot be dependent on one country, and the world cannot depend on hegemony of one country. We should try to diverse our sources, sustainability, and a circular economy. We should also promote battery and e-waste recycling to reduce raw material imports. Barriers to circular economy is dominance of the informal sector, lack of efficient and formal recycling infrastructure. So we should focus on building these. And sustainable mining is also required. Mineral reserves often lie in the tribal and ecologically sensitive areas, requires ESG compliance, community consent, and benefit sharing models. So the policy and strategic realignment is needed at the moment. That is conducting regular demand supply assessments of critical minerals, creating strategic stockpiles to cushion accusation against global price and supply volatility, align mineral, industrial, energy, and foreign policies for coherent national strategy. And the conclusion is there is a need for reducing external dependence, investing in domestic capabilities, and embedding sustainability and resilience in its critical minerals value chain. With this, India can move into the future. With the focused policy execution, India can emerge as a global hub in the critical mineral economy and support its broader geopolitical and economic ambitions. Okay, so these are the articles which I want to discuss with you today. Most of the important articles have been discussed. So if you like the video, then please hit the like button, comment on it, and also share your views. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon so that you don't miss a notification. With this, I will end the video. Jai Hind.